The ultrasound screen went black and my doctor's hands started to shake. Then she locked the door and whispered the words that would either save my life or destroy it. "Your husband has been planning something, and you need to leave him today." But let me back up. Let me tell you how a routine doctor's appointment on a Tuesday morning in Washington, D.C. became the day I stopped being someone's wife and started being my own woman. Welcome back to Her Value Stories, where every story is a reminder that love, loss, and resilience visit us all, no matter where we come from or what we carry. We may never know when life will change or why certain hearts are tested, but every moment holds meaning worth telling. If you're new here, take a second to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. And to our returning hearts, thank you. Your presence is what gives these stories their voice. Stay with us until the very end. Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. Now, let us continue. My name is India Monroe. I'm 34 years old, a corporate lawyer. Well, I was a corporate lawyer until my husband Brandon convinced me that partnership track and motherhood don't mix. "You'll have time for career later, baby," he'd said, kissing my forehead like I was a child who needed guidance. "Right now, our family needs you." Our family. God, I wanted that so badly I ignored every single red flag waving in my face. The morning of the ultrasound, I woke up alone. Again. Brandon's side of the bed was cold, his pillows perfectly arranged like he'd never been there at all. I found a note on the kitchen counter, his handwriting sharp and neat. "Had to handle an early meeting with Singapore clients. Sorry I can't make the appointment. Take pictures for me. Love you." B. No, love you too. No acknowledgement that this was our 18-week scan, the one where we'd find out if our baby was healthy, developing on track, real. Just take pictures. I stood there in our pristine Georgetown townhouse, the one Brandon insisted we buy, the one decorated entirely in shades of gray and white because he said color was chaotic, and I felt something twist in my chest, but I pushed it down. Marriage is work, right? That's what my mother always said. You don't give up when things get hard, India. You're a Monroe. We don't quit. Have you ever ignored a gut feeling because you wanted something to work out so badly? Drop a comment and tell me about it. I want to hear your story. I grabbed my purse, the ultrasound appointment card, and drove myself to the medical building on M Street. The waiting room smelled like lavender and desperation, that particular scent of expensive air fresheners trying to mask the anxiety that soaked into the walls. I checked in, waited, scrolled through my phone and saw Brandon's Instagram story from an hour ago. Him at some rooftop restaurant downtown, laughing with colleagues, a mimosa in hand. Singapore clients. Right. India Monroe? I looked up. A nurse with kind eyes and box braids smiled at me. "Dr. Okafor is ready for you." Meanwhile, across the city, Julian West didn't believe in fate, divine intervention, or romantic coincidences. At 38, he'd built a billion-dollar privacy tech company on the foundation of cold, hard data. Algorithms didn't lie, people did. He sat in Busboys and Poets on 14th Street, laptop open, reviewing security protocols for his latest software release. Around him, DC's morning crowd buzzed, congressional aides arguing policy, artists nursing cold brew, students cramming for exams. Julian saw none of it. He'd trained himself not to see people anymore. Not really. It was safer that way. His phone buzzed. A text from his sister's number, except his sister, Naomi, had been dead for 2 years. Her husband had killed her. Slowly. Methodically. With control disguised as concern, isolation dressed up as protection, financial abuse wrapped in the language of partnership. By the time anyone realized what was happening, it was too late. Julian still kept her number in his phone. Sometimes he texted it, never expected a response. Today, the message was from Naomi's best friend, Shannon, who'd taken over the phone line to manage the women's shelter they'd founded in Naomi's name. Shannon. New case just came in. Woman, late 30s, professional, husband exhibiting pre-violence control patterns. She doesn't know she's in danger yet. Reminds me of Naomi before, thought you'd want to know we're handling it. Julian's jaw tightened. He closed his laptop. He donated millions to the shelter, funded escape plans, legal teams, safe houses, but he never got involved personally. Couldn't. The pain was still too close, too raw, too... His phone buzzed again. Shannon. Her name is India. Julian stared at the name on his screen. He didn't know why it landed differently, didn't know why his chest felt tight. He texted back, Julian, keep me updated, whatever she needs. Then he did something he hadn't done in 2 years. He stood up, left his coffee unfinished, and walked out into the September sunlight, as if movement could outrun the ghosts that followed him everywhere. He had no idea that in 6 hours he'd meet the woman who would crack open the fortress he'd built around his heart, and she had no idea that the worst day of her life was about to become the first day of her freedom. Dr. Amara Okafor had been an OB-GYN for 12 years. She'd delivered over 1,000 babies, handled every complication in the textbook, and prided herself on maintaining professional composure even in crisis. But when she opened India Monroe's medical file that Tuesday morning, her hands started shaking. Okay, India, let's see how baby is doing. Dr. Okafor's voice was steady as she squeezed the cold gel onto my rounded belly. The ultrasound wand pressed against my skin, and the familiar whooshing sound of my baby's heartbeat filled the room. Thump, 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 thump. I smiled, tears pricking my eyes. No matter how lonely I felt, no matter how cold my marriage had become, this was real. This tiny heartbeat was mine. Dr. Okafor adjusted the screen, measuring the baby's head, the spine, the tiny feet that had started kicking me awake at night. Everything looks perfect, she murmured. Beautiful development. Then she reached for her tablet to update my chart, and froze. I watched her face change. The professional warmth drained away, replaced by something that looked like horror. She stared at the screen, scrolled, stared again. Her jaw tightened. Is something wrong with the baby? My voice came out small, terrified. No. Dr. Okafor turned off the ultrasound monitor. Just switched it off. The baby is perfectly healthy, India. Then why do you look... She stood abruptly, walked to the door and locked it. The click echoed in the small exam room like a gunshot. My heart started racing. Dr. Okafor, you're scaring me. She turned back to me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen in a doctor before. Fury. India, I need you to listen very carefully. She pulled a chair close to the exam table and sat down, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Your medical records have been accessed 17 times in the past 3 weeks by someone using your husband's credentials. The room tilted. What? Brandon Monroe called this office 4 days ago, claiming to be consulting about high-risk pregnancy factors. He asked my nurse, very specifically, about genetic conditions that would legally justify a late-term termination. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The words weren't making sense. He also, Dr. Okafor continued, her voice shaking now with barely controlled anger, inquired about the medical risks of accidental trauma during pregnancy, falls, car accidents, things that could cause miscarriage but appear unintentional. The gel on my stomach felt ice cold. My baby kicked, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding around us. No. I shook my head. No. Brandon wouldn't. He's excited about the baby. He talks about names, he bought a crib, India. Dr. Okafor's hand covered mine. I flagged his call immediately. I've been in this field long enough to recognize when someone is planning something. And, sweetheart, I think your husband is planning to hurt you. Or worse. The walls of the exam room seemed to close in. I thought about Brandon's sudden interest in my life insurance policy last month, how he'd upgraded it to $2 million without asking me. Just being responsible, he'd said. I thought about how he'd isolated me from my friends. They're jealous of what we have, baby. They don't want to see you happy. I thought about the tracking app he'd installed on my phone. It's for safety, India. What if something happens to you and the baby? I thought about how he'd insisted I quit my job, close my personal bank account, add his name to my grandmother's inheritance trust. Every single thing I'd explained away as love was actually a trap closing around my throat. "Mrs. Monroe?" Dr. Okafor's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. "I need you to leave this office, get your important documents, and do not go home. Do you understand me? Do not go back to that house." I left the medical building in a daze, my phone clutched in my trembling hand. The September sun felt too bright, the DC traffic too loud. Everything was exactly the same as it had been an hour ago, except everything had changed. My phone buzzed. Brandon. "Brandon. How'd the appointment go? Is our little man okay?" Our little man. He'd insisted from the beginning it was a boy. Wouldn't even consider girl names. I hadn't told him yet that the early genetic testing said we were having a daughter. I stared at the text, my stomach churning. Another buzz. "Brandon. India. You okay? Answer me." The shift in tone, from casual to demanding in one text, made my skin crawl. I typed, "Baby's fine. On my way home." Then I sat in my car in the parking garage and deleted the message before sending it. What would you do in this moment? Run? Confront him? I want to know, because what I did next changed everything. Tell me in the comments. Because here's the thing about realizing your life is a lie. Part of you still wants to be wrong. Part of me wanted to drive home, walk through that door, and have Brandon laugh it off. "The doctor's crazy, India. I never called about termination. That's insane. I love you. I love our baby." Part of me wanted the fairy tale back, even if it was built on quicksand. But I thought about my daughter who deserved a mother who chose truth over comfort. So I didn't go home. I started driving with no destination, my hands shaking on the wheel, tears blurring my vision. I ended up in Georgetown, parked outside a small art gallery I used to visit before Brandon said galleries were pretentious spaces for people with too much time and too little substance. There was a reception happening inside. Wine, cheese, people laughing softly in front of abstract paintings. I walked in because I didn't know where else to go, and that's when I saw him. He was standing alone near a painting of a shattered mirror, hands in his pockets, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Tall, dark-skinned, early 40s maybe, with the kind of quiet presence that made people instinctively give him space. Julian West. I didn't know his name yet, but I recognized the expression on his face, the same one I'd been wearing for months. "I'm here, but I'm not really here." I grabbed a glass of wine from a passing tray even though I couldn't drink it. Just needed something to hold, something to keep my hands from shaking. I made it exactly 4 steps before the room started spinning. The glass slipped from my fingers. I didn't hear it shatter, just felt strong hands catch my elbow, steadying me before I hit the floor. "Whoa, easy." His voice was low, careful. "You okay?" I looked up at him. This stranger with concerned eyes, and every lie I'd been telling myself shattered like that wine glass on the gallery floor. My voice cracked. "I need to sit down." He didn't ask questions, just guided me to a bench outside the gallery, away from the crowd, away from the pitying stares. The September air was cool against my flushed face. "I'm fine," I lied, wiping my eyes. "Just pregnancy stuff, low blood sugar. I'm sorry, I don't usually—" "You don't have to explain." He sat down beside me. Maintaining a respectful distance, didn't crowd me, didn't hover, just stayed. We sat in silence for a long moment. I should have thanked him and left. Should have gone somewhere, anywhere. But I couldn't move. "My name's Julian," he finally said. Not pushing, just offering. "India." Another silence, comfortable somehow, despite everything. "You want to talk about it?" he asked quietly. "Or do you want me to pretend I didn't just watch your whole world collapse in the middle of an art gallery?" I let out a sound between a laugh and a sob. "Is it that obvious?" I recognized the look. His voice carried weight, old pain. Someone I loved, she used to have that same expression, like she was drowning but didn't want anyone to know. Something in his tone made me turn to look at him. Really look. What happened to her? She didn't make it out. 3 words. An entire tragedy. My hand went instinctively to my belly. Julian noticed. But you will, he said firmly. Whatever you're running from, whatever you just found out, you're going to make it out. You know how I know? I shook my head. Because you're here instead of there. Because you're already choosing yourself. He stood, pulled out a business card, and handed it to me. I run a privacy tech company, but I also fund a women's crisis shelter. If you need help, legal, financial, a safe place to stay, call this number, day or night. I stared at the card. Julian West, CEO, Sentinel Technologies. I don't need, I started. Yeah, you do. Not unkind, just honest. And there's no shame in that. Pride is expensive, India. Sometimes it costs everything. I called the number 3 hours later from a hotel room in Arlington. I'd checked in using cash I'd withdrawn from the one ATM card Brandon didn't monitor, a checking account my grandmother had set up for me years ago that I'd forgotten existed. Julian answered on the second ring. It's India, from the gallery. I remember. A pause. Are you safe? I'm at a hotel. I don't know what to do. The words tumbled out. My doctor told me my husband has been accessing my medical records. He called asking about ways a pregnancy could end, and I just keep thinking about all the things I ignored. India, breathe. His voice was steady, grounding. Where are you exactly? I told him. Okay, don't move. I'm sending someone to you. Her name is Kennedy. She's a crisis counselor, and she's helped hundreds of women navigate exactly what you're going through. She'll be there in 20 minutes. I can't afford. It's already covered. India, listen to me. His voice softened. My sister's name was Naomi. She was a journalist, brilliant, funny, unstoppable. She married a man who seemed perfect, charming, successful, attentive. He paused, and I heard him take a breath. He isolated her slowly, convinced her she was paranoid, controlled her money, tracked her movements, and when she finally tried to leave... Another pause. She didn't make it to the courthouse. He killed her 3 days before the restraining order hearing. My blood ran cold. Julian, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be smart. His voice sharpened with urgency. Brandon is following a pattern. The medical records access, the insurance policy changes, the isolation, these aren't random. He's building toward something, and you being pregnant makes you more vulnerable, not less. A knock at my hotel door made me jump. That's Kennedy, Julian said. Let her in. Trust her. And India? Yeah? You're not alone anymore. Kennedy was a 40-something black woman with silver locks and eyes that had seen everything twice. She sat across from me at the hotel room desk and didn't waste time with pleasantries. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. So I did. The whirlwind romance. How Brandon had pursued me relentlessly after we met at a legal conference. How he'd seemed like the answer to every prayer. Stable, successful, ready for family. How he'd slowly convinced me to quit my job. You're too stressed, baby. Let me take care of you. How he'd insisted on joint bank accounts. We're married. What's mine is yours. How he'd moved us away from my friends. Fresh start, just us. How my mother, my mother who I hadn't spoken to in 6 months, had warned me. India, something's not right about him. Please just slow down. And I'd chosen him over her. Kennedy took notes, asked clarifying questions, didn't judge. When I finished, she looked up. India, your husband is exhibiting classic pre-violence control patterns. The medical records access is especially concerning. It suggests he's researching how to harm you in a way that looks accidental. My hands went to my belly protectively. What do I do? First, you document everything. Second, you don't go back to that house without police escort. Third, you file for a restraining order tomorrow morning. She slid a folder across the table. These are the lawyers Julian's organization works with. They're the best in D.C., and they work pro bono for cases like yours. Cases like mine, I repeated numbly. Kennedy's expression softened. Survivors. You're already a survivor, India. You just don't know it yet. Have you ever had someone see your strength before you could see it yourself? Drop a comment. I read every single one. Over the next 3 days, I stayed in a secure apartment Julian owned in Alexandria. He'd offered it without hesitation, no strings attached. He checked in daily, not hovering, just present. Brought groceries. Helped me sort through legal documents. Sat with me when the panic attacks hit at 2 a.m. We talked, really talked. Not about Brandon or Naomi at first, just life, dreams, the versions of ourselves we'd buried to survive. I wanted to be a civil rights lawyer, I admitted one night over takeout Thai food. Change the world, protect people who couldn't protect themselves. What stopped you? I got tired of fighting. Corporate law paid better, demanded less emotional labor. I laughed bitterly. Turns out I was just saving all that emotion for a man who was planning to kill me. Julian set down his fork. India, you're not weak for wanting love. You're human. You don't date anymore, do you? I asked quietly. He shook his head. Too risky. I can't lose someone else. That's not living, Julian. That's just existing. He met my eyes. Says the woman who's literally rebuilding her entire life. Touché. We laughed. Real laughter that felt like light breaking through concrete. And for the first time since that ultrasound, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. Brandon found me on day 6. I don't know how. Julian's apartment was supposed to be secure, untraceable, but I'd made one mistake. I'd called my mother. After 6 months of silence, I'd finally swallowed my pride and dialed her number. She'd answered on the first ring, her voice breaking when she heard mine. India? Baby, where are you? Brandon called me frantic, saying you disappeared, that the pregnancy hormones have you confused. Mom, stop. I'd cut her off. He's dangerous. Dr. Okafor found evidence that he's planning to hurt me. I need you to believe me. Silence. India, sweetheart. Are you sure? Brandon seems so worried, so devastated. He loves you. He's been tracking my medical records, Mom, asking about ways to end the pregnancy that look like accidents. That doesn't sound like... Honey, are you taking something? The pregnancy can cause paranoia. Maybe you misunderstood. I'd hung up. Apparently, she'd called Brandon immediately after, told him I'd contacted her. Told him I was getting help somewhere in Alexandria. That night, Brandon showed up at Julian's building. The doorman called up. Mrs. Monroe, your husband is here. He's insisting he needs to see you. Says it's an emergency with the baby. My blood turned to ice. Julian, who'd stopped by to drop off dinner, grabbed the phone. Tell him she's not available, and if he doesn't leave, you're calling the police. 10 minutes later, my phone exploded with texts. Brandon. India, what the hell is going on? Brandon. Who is Julian West? Are you sleeping with someone while carrying my child? Brandon. I knew you were unstable, but this is insane, Brandon. You're going to regret this. I will take everything from you. Brandon. That baby is mine. You can't keep me from my own child. Brandon. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Julian watched my face as I read them. Block his number. Now. But I couldn't stop staring at the messages. The mask had finally slipped completely. This was the real Brandon, the one who saw me as property, not a person. He's right about one thing, I whispered. I don't have anything. No job, no money of my own, no legal standing. He'll destroy me in court. He'll take my baby and I'll... India, stop. Julian's voice was sharp. You're spiraling. You don't understand, I shouted, months of fear finally erupting. You can just throw money at problems. You have power, resources, freedom. I have nothing. I'm nobody. I'm just some stupid woman who fell for a psychopath and now... Is that what you think? Julian's eyes flashed. That you're nobody? Aren't I? You're a corporate lawyer who graduated top of her class from Howard. You managed a multi-million-dollar estate trust before Brandon convinced you to hand it over. You identified a threat to your child and got out before it was too late. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. India, and if you can't see that, then maybe I've been wasting my time." The words hit like a slap. Julian grabbed his coat. "I'm going to give you space to figure out if you're actually ready to fight, or if you just want someone to rescue you. Because I can't do this. I can't watch another woman I care about destroy herself." He walked out. The door closed, and I was alone. I sat in that apartment for 3 hours, my hand on my belly, feeling my daughter kick. She was real, active, alive, completely dependent on me to protect her. What kind of mother did I want to be? The kind who taught her daughter that love meant shrinking yourself, that abuse disguised as care was acceptable, that women should be grateful for scraps of respect, or the kind who showed her that you fight, that you don't negotiate with people who want to erase you, that survival isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing you can do. I thought about Naomi, Julian's sister, who didn't make it out. I thought about my grandmother, who'd built an empire as a black woman in the 1960s and refused to let anyone diminish her. I thought about my daughter, who deserved to inherit strength, not surrender. I picked up my phone and called Julian. He answered immediately. "India? I'm ready to fight." My voice didn't shake. "I need the best lawyer in DC. I need to access my grandmother's trust that Brandon tried to lock me out of. I need to file for divorce, full custody, and a permanent restraining order, and I need to do it tomorrow." Silence. Then, "I'll make the calls tonight." "Julian?" "Yeah?" "I'm sorry. You're not wasting your time, and I'm not looking for rescue. I'm looking for partnership. There's a difference." I heard him exhale. "Yeah, there is." "One more thing," I added. "I care about you too. Just needed you to know that." A pause. Then quietly, "Get some sleep, India. Tomorrow, we go to war." The legal battle took 4 months. Brandon fought dirty, accused me of infidelity, claimed I was mentally unstable, tried to freeze my access to my own inheritance. But Julian's lawyers were better. We had Dr. Okafor's testimony about the medical records breach. We had documentation of Brandon's controlling behavior, the tracking apps, the isolated bank accounts, the coerced resignation from my job. We had financial forensics showing Brandon had gambling debts he'd hidden and had been planning to use my money to cover them. And we had my mother. She'd finally listened. Really listened. And when she took the stand and tearfully admitted she'd been wrong, that she'd seen the signs and ignored them because she wanted India to have the family she deserved, the judge's expression shifted. Brandon got supervised visitation only, and only if he completed a batterer's intervention program. I got full custody. I got my inheritance back. I got my life back. 6 months later, I gave birth to Zora Naomi Monroe on a snowy February morning. Julian was there, not in the delivery room, that felt too soon, too much, but in the waiting room, pacing like an anxious father, holding coffee he never drank. When the nurse brought him in an hour after Zora was born, he stood in the doorway like he was afraid to breathe too loud. "She's perfect," he whispered, staring at the tiny bundle in my arms. "Want to hold her?" His eyes went wide. Are you sure?" I nodded. He sat beside my hospital bed, and I carefully transferred my daughter into his arms. He cradled her like she was made of glass, his eyes shining. "Hi, Zora," he murmured. "I'm Julian. Well, I'm not sure what I am yet, but I'm going to make sure you and your mama are safe. That's a promise." Zora yawned, completely unimpressed. I laughed, exhausted, overwhelmed, free. "So," Julian said, not taking his eyes off Zora, "what happens now?" I thought about the question. 6 months ago, I'd been drowning, trapped, convinced I was nobody. Now, I had my daughter, my independence, my strength, a relationship with my mother we were rebuilding one conversation at a time, and I had this man, this guarded, broken, beautiful man, who'd shown up when I needed him and stayed when I didn't. Now, I smiled. We start real. Julian looked up, met my eyes. Real sounds perfect. He leaned over and kissed my forehead, gentle, reverent, full of promise. Outside the hospital window, Washington, D.C. was waking up, the city where I'd lost everything and found myself. My phone buzzed, a text from my new boss at the civil rights firm I'd joined last month. "Boss, congratulations on baby Zora. Take all the time you need. Your desk will be waiting. We need you." I showed Julian. He grinned. "Civil rights lawyer? Just like you wanted. Turns out fighting for myself taught me how to fight for others." Zora made a small sound, and we both looked down at her, this tiny miracle who'd saved my life simply by existing. "Thank you," I whispered to Julian. "For what?" "For seeing me when I couldn't see myself." He shook his head. "India, I didn't save you. You saved yourself. I just got to witness it." And in that moment, holding my daughter, beside a man who'd taught me that love doesn't control, it liberates, I finally understood what my grandmother used to say. "Baby girl, you're a Monroe. We don't break, we build. And when someone tries to burn us down, we rise from the ashes and build something better." I'd risen. And what I'd built, this life, this love, this unshakable strength, was better than any fairy tale I'd ever imagined. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, what's one thing you're choosing for yourself today? Let's build each other up. See you in the next one.